with it.
I feel like we've been so uber focused on this team going out to acquire pitching at the trade deadline. A caller called in earlier and said, how about just add a bat and outscore everybody?
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting thought. I said, yeah, you'll talk to Jesse about it. I mean, like, what is the chance that they do something that maybe we don't expect? And I don't even know. I haven't looked at that list as much or even thought about, contemplated as much, like what big productive bats might be available. I guess maybe Ozuna could be available if you're Atlanta.
Yep.
Makes more sense than them trading Sale, if you ask me. But, like, what are some of the options maybe in terms of a bat, and would the Cubs go that route?
So it is a good question. I heard the caller earlier say that to you. And if you think about their bench, because remember, you want to tighten every part of your team up when it comes to October.
Yep.
Right now, it's Vidal Brujan, it's John Birdie, and the big bat to face a tough lefty. Because even now, Bush is sitting against most lefties, and Turner's starting, and there's a few hits here and there. He's got only 20 on the season, but most Cub fans would say, let's see what else is out there. So, look, Baltimore has some hitters, right? Cedric Mullins, you're talking about an outfielder, Ryan O'Hearn.
Yep, Ryan O'Hearn.
Probably available. And, of course, Zach Eflin on the mound. You mentioned Marcell Ozuna. There's probably a Rockies, McMahon or someone on the Rockies available. I mean, you just need someone better than Justin Turner at this point if they cut ties. I don't know that they will. They like him so much in that dugout, in that clubhouse. If you're scoring 5.5 to 6 runs a game with him, how much more are you going to score without him? But then again, October's a different animal.
O'Hearn's a great call because I believe he is a pending free agent, if I'm not mistaken. And you talk about the year he's put together, and he can kind of play everywhere. That's a good one. Any chance they might call the White Sox about Robert, or is it, just like thinking of some of the different offensive options that could be available? I know there are some teams that are still, even in a very bad year here for Luis Robert, kind of kicking the tires on him. So any chance they would blow in a phone call to the White Sox and inquire?
Zero.
Okay.
Zero. It'd be different if there was an opening in the outfield. Okay. If they needed him for defensive purposes.
Okay, all right.
If they needed him on the base pass, but they have plenty of speed. They have plenty of outfield defense. I mean, PCA finally got a day off, but he's not going to get many this whole season. So no, I don't think so. There's other teams that actually have somewhat of a hole in center that if he plays well in the next month. But the Cubs wouldn't make that call. The Cubs are looking for a bench guy. Okay. I mean, if they're looking for anyone, it would be a bench guy that is probably a better option than Justin Turner. But they are really going to be focused on pitching over the next month. Nothing's imminent. There's all sorts of teams still figuring things out. The Diamondbacks, yes, the Braves. They're going to wait till the very end. The only team that might jump the market selling-wise would probably be the Marlins, maybe the White Sox with Robert. But I don't even know if the Marlins will do that until Alcantara puts together 5, 6, 7 good starts, which he's starting to do. So all of this is going to happen between the All-Star break and the end of July.
Why has Hap started driving the ball?
Oh, yeah.
He's got some power coming back. Where's it been?
It's a good question, Jurko. That injury set him back, but even before that, he wasn't showing a ton of power. Sometimes you got to make a choice. Am I going to get on base more via the walk, or am I going to swing for the lake, right? Meaning, how that goes. He wasn't. He's not a guy that expands the zone very often. So there are other guys behind him hitting for power. All of a sudden, though, it's popped up here, and I still like him. I know Sylvie doesn't as much at the leadoff role. Switch hitter. You never have to move him out against a tough lefty. He'll take his walks, and now he's hitting some home runs. But it's actually a good question why he wasn't even hitting home runs before the injury. I think his timing was off, and now he's finally getting back on time right now.
When they go out and hit this trade market at some point, are there going to be, there are always certain guys, I guess, that you would deem maybe, no, we're not going to move them out of our minor league system. I was talking to Cap yesterday. He's pretty insistent that he does not want the Cubs moving Cade Horton. Do they feel similarly? Like who can and can't be had, I guess I would say, Jess, in a potential trade, depending on how big they swing here at the deadline?
Yeah, in my opinion, I think anybody not on the Major League roster right now would be available. So then, of course, the question would be Cade Horton, who is on the Major League roster. But let's start with the entire minor leagues. I really don't necessarily see any untouchable. Okay. Now, the one thing is, and this is where the Cade Horton discussion comes up, and I don't actually think Chris Sale is going to be available. But the one thing is, no matter who it is, Zach Allen, Merrill Kelly, Zach Eflin, most of the time, if you trade for a veteran starter, they want a young one back. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying trade Cade Horton for Zach Eflin, but you've got to find their top prospects after Cade Horton are all hitting prospects.
Right.
There's some pitching in the lower levels. There's actually some relief pitching at AAA that's amazing. One guy has given up 7 hits in 27 innings. But most of the time, a team wants a young starter back. So when it comes to Chris Sale, they would ask for Cade Horton. I'm sure Arizona would ask for Cade Horton if it was Gallen or Kelly. I'm not advocating that for a 2-month rental, but it's not unheard of to trade a young starter for a veteran one that has October experience. So that means, especially at home, getting back to that 5 runs per game kind of thing, or a little bit over that. I'm not going to put too much stock on Skubal shutting them down a little bit. They actually hit them pretty well. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, they're in the fight against these good pitchers.
Yes.
They're not going to beat them all.
Yeah.
They're especially in a big stretch here of games, 26 and 27 days, 9 in a row on the road. You don't see that very often. 3 cities, 9 in a row without a day off there. So that's why PCA sat yesterday. They're just in the middle of a lot going on here. Yeah. And, there's going to be some moments that might resemble October. But remember, the Cubs have speed, so even if the power game goes away, they're in the fight. They're in the fight against these good pitchers. But, yes, at home, you want to see them. Now they've seen Skeens 3-4 times, I think, now. You want to get to them, and they have in the past. And you want to get to Peralta at home. So that's what I want to see, just a little bit more at home than they showed on this last road trip against the good pitchers.
We talked about on Monday. They still had some really good at-bats against Skubal last week. His defense made a couple great plays behind him, so I think it's a good point you make. It's not like they were completely flummoxed by Tarek Skubal last week. He's just really good, and he's going to do that to a lot of teams, especially when his D plays great. All right, Jess, we will talk to you next week. Have a good weekend. Thanks, buddy.
You got it, guys. Jurko, have a great week. Hit him straight, my friend.
Appreciate it, there,
There's
kid.
Jesse.